Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vidya Dravidam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu Madhidvishavai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, who knows where we are in our text?
We're on number 43, page 22.
Number 43, page 22.
Yes,
Maya katham tata chaya na vidyate tattvam ekamidam sarvam vyomakaram niranjanam. My child, how can there be illusion and non-illusion, shadow and lack of shadow? All this is one truth. All this is of the nature of space and without taint.
So, in the beginning of our sadhana, we make a distinction between the Purusha and Prakriti, spirit and matter. In Gita talks about Kshetra, the field, Kshetranya, the knower of the field. We go through Atman, Anatman, Vivechanam, discrimination between the self and the not-self. But that's only a technique so that we can call out of our identification with matter. I am that pure witnessing consciousness. I'm not the body, not the mind, not the intellect. But then what is this world? It too is Brahman. We lied. There is no not self. It's all the self. What appears as name and form just hangs in it like a transparency, like a hologram. The world is what it is consciousness. So the person of wisdom isn't fooled by what the senses report. Giving up concern over Maya or not Maya, beyond Maya, Prakriti or Purusha, not self and self. all of that is gone. All is shunyata, like space. It's really empty. And yet it's full of bhava, being. Any thoughts? Next one. Just wanted to check the rating.
Adi madhyanta muktoham na buddhoham kadachana swabhava nirmala shuddha iti me nishichyata matihi. I am free in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. I am never bound. This is my sure knowledge that I am naturally spotless and pure.
So this is referring to what I call the great cosmic joke. How do you own this? Someone here? Here he goes. In the beginning of our sadhana, I feel like a person and I want to become liberated. Myself, I want to, I'm the Jivatman, the individuality, and I want to merge with the Paramatman, the Supreme Self. I want to realize Brahman, etc. In the end, what we realize is I was never bound in the first place. Just like when you have a dream, it may be very, very vivid. Lots of anxiety or stress in the dream. And in the dream ego tries to resolve those stresses. Then you wake up. You realize you were never in the dream in the first place. So let me repeat something I say many times. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. There is no other bondage than the deeply rooted conviction in the subtle intellect as the result of ignorance that I'm bound, meaning I think I'm a person. I think I'm the body plus the personality. There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction in the intellect based on direct experience. Not that I'm now an enlightened person, not that I was bound and now I'm free. But, oh, I was never born. I was never bound in the first place. What I am is that space of consciousness. What about reincarnation? All that kind of stuff the scriptures talk about. So how much you used to say reincarnation is the genealogy of the ghost and the post. Imagine there's a ghost in the post by the highway. It's not there. And you can imagine a history for the ghost in the post. It's not real. Or another way to look at it. do you incarnate into a dream? Not really. It feels like I'm in the dream body looking at the dream world. But that's really just a projection of my mind. So also, in this dream of egoism, of ahankriti, of asmita, it's just a firmly held conviction. It's not real. And at the moment of realization, which takes place in the subtle intellect, what do I realize? Oh, I'm birthless, changeless, deathless, outside of time and space. Chidanandarupa, I'm of the form of bliss consciousness. Any thoughts on this? Frame it another way, it is not an ontological problem. My being does not change its nature. It's an epistemological problem. It's an issue of knowing. Love the story of Moses. Moses is born an Israelite. That's what he is. The Pharaoh wants to kill all the kids. So his mother puts him in a basket and puts him in the river. Pharaoh's daughter finds him and he's raised as a prince of Egypt. Then later on, he finds out, oh, I'm not Egyptian. I'm an Israelite. Now, physiologically, he did not change at all. He's still Moses. But his understanding of who he was, what all that meant, changed profound. Any thoughts on this? So, it is not an evolution. I'm not getting more and more enlightened. You either see it or you don't. If you don't see it yet, do more tapas. Purify the mind. Detach, detach, detach. Till you can see what's always been there. A birthless, deathless, changeless reality. Next verse.
Mahadadi jagat sarvam nakinchit pratibhati me brahmaiva kevalam sarvam katham varnashma asthitihi. The whole universe, beginning with the principle of cosmic intelligence, is not in the least manifest to me. All is indeed Brahman alone. How can there be any existence in caste or stage of life for me?
So the entire universe, from the Big Bang on, only exists as a mental image. It's not substantial. It's not concrete. It's not real. You may intellectually grasp that. But then he says, how can things like caste, etc. Well, we'll take it in the modern time. Well, the world may be unreal, but that asshole in the supermarket really pissed me off. What about that parking meter maid? You know, oh, she gave me a ticket. I take those things as so real and annoying. Or the opposite. Oh, my stock portfolio went up 20% this year. That's so real. It's all like a movie. It's all like a movie. Including your own body, mind, intellect's participation in it. It's one of the characters in the movie. Don't identify. Any thoughts on this? Next.
Janami sarvatha sarvam ahameko nirantaram niralamba manu niralamba ashunyam cha shunyam vyomadi panchakam. I know that all in every way is the one indivisible I, which is self-sustained and full, while the five elements beginning with ether are empty.
Yes. So what's here is consciousness. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily Brahma. What appears as name and form, gross or subtle. That's what he means by the five elements. Things perceived through the senses are not bad. Oh, terrible world, I have to detach from it. Oh, terrible world. Bad body, bad body. No. Shunyata. Boyd. It's like I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see a great, big, beautiful cream cheese pie with cherries. So I get out my fork and I stab the monitor so I can eat the cream cheese pie. Nothing there. It's pixels. But if I think this world is real, start to get it. Any thoughts on this?
I have a question, Jim.
Yes.
Would it be helpful to apply the same teaching of the emptiness of those experiences to our reaction to a particular experience? Like if there were attraction or aversion to something, to see that as part of the pixelation too?
Absolutely. Very good point. Get out of the mind. Just watch it do its thing. Now, that doesn't mean this is licensed to go running after the world in a stupid way. I guess I can talk about this. It's like then becomes like pornography. It's one thing to see a cream cheese pie, but you can maybe look at all these images online of whatever human form that you're attracted to, and then you start attributing a lot of reality to what you know is a picture. Many people get addicted to it. So you need to decide whether your reaction, oh, this just surface annoyance or surface reaction or attraction, not a big deal. That's fine. That's good yoga. Or whether or not you're seriously getting involved. Is that useful?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
God, where did that metaphor come from? It's so vivid, true. All right, next verse.
Nashando napun.
Hang on, we got sirens going by here. All right.
Nashando napun mana stri nabodho naiva kalpana sanando vanirananda atmanam manyase katham. The self is neither eunuch, man, nor woman. It is neither idea nor imagination. How can you think the self to be full of joy or joyless?
So the self is not a form like the Murti, the deity that we worship. You see a form of Devi in some form, or you see Lord Krishna, or you see in India we have men and we have women, and then we have Hijra. We have the third gender. These are an entire caste where India was embracing transgender identity for thousands of years. It's a new thing here in the West. India's, so they are eunuchs. Born as men, dress as women, but they have had surgery. Let's put it that way. So the point being, the self doesn't have plumbing. God is not a he or a she. One of the things I do like, the word for ultimate reality in Sanskrit is Brahman, which actually is a neuter noun. Not a eunuch noun, but it is not male or female. But the whole point here, it is like space. It is the formless one that inhabits eternity. God is spirit, and you must know God in spirit. It's not seeable, knowable, touchable. Yet, everything that is seeable, knowable, and touchable is Brahman appearing as Maven. Paradise. Any thoughts? Next verse.
षड्कयो गानतु नैव Shuddham mano vinashana. Oh, this is a different meter, sorry. Shadanga yoga natunaiva shuddham mano vinashanta tunaiva shuddham guru padeshana tunaiva shuddham swayam jatatvam swayameva buddham. The self certainly does not become pure through the practice of six-limbed yoga. It certainly is not purified by the destruction of the mind. It certainly is not made pure by the instructions of the teacher. It is itself the truth. It is itself the illumined one.
So it's interesting. He calls it a six-limbed yoga. I suspect that he's lumping the yamas and niyamas into moral category and starts with asana. I don't know how he's.
There's a note here.
Oh, please.
It says six-limbed, consisting of 6 parts or steps, namely posture, control of the vital force, self-withdrawal, concentration, meditation, and so on.
Yes. So it's the Ashtanga yoga of Patanjali minus the yamas and niyamas. That's all it is. So it starts with asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. So the point being, doing yoga is very good, but all it does is purify the equipment. It does not purify yourself. What was the next idea after the six-limbed yoga?
It certainly is not purified by the destruction of the mind.
So manonasha, I want to achieve the destruction of the mind, bring it into absolute quiescence. So there's no knower, knowing, and known anymore. That doesn't touch yourself. Doesn't mean these things are not of value. And that second idea, for most of us, the subtle intellect just won't let go of the ego sense unless we at least once have an experience of samadhi. It's very clear when the mind returns from it. I'm not a person. This world isn't real. Those of the highest intellect, just happens like that. But most of us are not of that caliber. But none of this changes, affects, achieves the self. Self is not affected by spiritual practice. Now again, this is an advanced text. Beginners reading Avadhuta Gita, this yoga is cheap. I'm already the self. I think I'm going to go shoot some heroin and have a good time. That's just rationalizing our suffering. So we go through these various practices. That's why they're laid out in the scripture. But in the end, when you see who you are, all that practice drops away. Now let me qualify this. The sadhak, the seeker, is seen to do spiritual practices so that he or she may purify the equipment and realize their self-nature. But the man or woman of wisdom may also be seen to be doing spiritual practices. It does not add to their knowledge of the self one iota. They do it because it's enjoyable. It's the highest form of worldly pleasure. But nothing about the self may go away on a retreat and you get really pure and your mind's all pure. And then you come back into the world. And after a while, your mind's dealing with work and family and rent or mortgages, and paying the bills, and health, all the stuff that life is. And if you're a knower Brahman, if you know yourself, it's just a different movie, that's all. Any thoughts on this? So, if you are yet to be deeply rooted in Brahman, if your mind has yet to easily retire into the self, then practice samadhi. If that's easily available to you, be attached to it. And that's a mind state. Any thoughts on this? For the rest of us, work on the qualifications of a fit student, work on our discrimination between the real and the unreal, practice our viveka, constant discrimination, our vairagya, let go of our attachments to the world, our attachments to identity. This text and these practices, again, are to remove the last subtle identification, the mumukshu, the seeker after liberation. Give that identity. And you can at least give it up in your meditation seat. Right here. Give up all struggle and effort of any kind. Next verse.
Nahi panchatmako deho videho vartate nahi atmaiva kevalam sarvam turiyam chatrayam katham. There is no body made up of 5 elements, nor is there anyone who is disembodied. All is verily the self alone. How can there be the 3 states and the 4th?
So he's riffing on various scriptures. So we talk about being jivan mukta, liberated while you're in the body, as opposed to videho moksha, liberation beyond the body. Those who advocate the philosophy of videho moksha After you die, you go to Brahmaloka till the end of the age, then you're released. Still with a sense of you, an individual. Jivan Mukta is liberated right here, right now, in this very body. Now, actually, the woman or man of wisdom is already Videho Moksha. What does that mean? Literally, liberation beyond the body. What is the mark of the man or woman of wisdom? I know I'm not the body. No, the body is just something the mind has conjured up. Like a Mayavi, like a magician. How could I say that there's any distinction? If the body appears, if the body doesn't appear, none of it touches. Any thoughts on this? Going on.
Na buddho naiva muktoham na chaham brahmana prithak na karta na cha bhoktaham vyapya pakarvajita. I am not bound. I am not indeed liberated. And I am not different from Brahman, neither doer nor enjoyer. I am devoid of the distinctions of the pervaded and the pervader.
Yes. So, I talk about how both bondage and liberation occurred in the mind. The self is ever free. I was never bound. I cannot be bound. I am ever free. I cannot attain liberation. I is outside time and space, independent of this illusory world of cause and effect, name and form coming in. Several years ago, I was walking back from the 24-hour fitness gym. I get a phone call from an old friend. Hadn't talked to in decades. Well, not decades, maybe 10 years. I think he actually might have been drinking or something. Jim, are you enlightened? Sat down on this little bench and I said, Alan, I've quit asking the question. Now, if you were to ask me, do I have any doubts about my essential nature? Let other people have their opinions about your equipment. It's meaningless. Don't try to be a realized person. Instead, know that you are Brahman. Whatever stupid material your mind throws up, don't worry about it. Next one.
Yatha jalam jale nyastam salilam bhedavarjitam prakritim purusham tadvat bhinnam pratibhati me. As water, when water has been poured into water, has no distinctions, so Purusha and Prakriti appear non-different to me.
So again, this is the language of the Sankhya's, Prakriti meaning the world of matter, Purusha meaning the world of spirit. This is language that the Gita uses. It borrows this language from the Sankhya philosophy. All the objects, all the emotions, all the thoughts, all the body, mind, intellects, all of that is Prakriti, world of nature. Purusha, that's the spirit, that is consciousness. Paramatma. But Krishna says, actually, both Purusha and Prakriti are the same. Now, what he may be riffing on a little bit, one of the principal commentators on Raja Yoga, because he's made some reference to Raja Yoga, is Vyasa. It's not the same Veda Vyasa that codified the Vedas. It's a later Vyasa, but he was of the Sankhya tradition, which is essentially dualistic. And what this guy is saying here is the it's all Brahman. There is no such thing as solid, concrete matter. It's a trick of Maya that it seems to appear. Just like it is the nature of the mirror to have images in it. Oh, I have a special mirror, it doesn't reflect anything. No, it's not a mirror then. So it's the nature of consciousness. The logos of Maya is Brahman. Maya is the power. My favorite definition of Maya is that word we use to describe how the impossible seems possible. How is it that consciousness, which is one without a second, indivisible, sthita, still, achalam, it never moves, vishuddham, extremely pure, seems to have an entire universe appearing. Weird. Shankara says we can't say Maya is, can't say that it isn't. All we can say is it's powerful. Next verse.
Yadi nama na muktosi na buddhosi kadachana sakaram cha nirakara atmanam manyase katham. If indeed you are never bound or liberated, how then can you think yourself with form or as formless?
So at one level, I need to do the practice. Neti, neti. I am not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not pure ignorance. The world or God is not the physical world, not the total mind, not the total vasana. I am witnessing consciousness. Brahman is consciousness, the ground of being. That's a practice we do. But that's like an anorexic with dysphoria, having to practice to remind herself, no, I'm not obese. I'm actually 10 pounds underweight for my height. Or more. She has to practice the new thought to get a healthy body image. So for a while, you and I need to practice. I am not the equipment. What I am is Brahman. But once you get rooted in that direct experience, you drop the practice. It's not necessary. It's seen to be an obvious fact. Were you ever not you? Next one.
Janami te param rupam pratyaksham gaganopamam yatha param hi rupam chat marichi jalasannibhan. I know your supreme form to be directly perceivable like the sky. I know your lower form to be as water in a mirage.
So this is a wonderful verse. In the beginning, we think, well, the world is real. You know, people are real, my parents are real, politics is real, my car is real. God, that's a little bit mysterious. Okay. I'm seeing that I can detach a bit from my problems, but the self, that's still not known to me. But once we're rooted in knowledge, actually we see it's the exact opposite. It's this world that's mysterious. What is really happening? This play of mind. Things are seldom what they seem to be. Because it's all just mental projection. It's mysterious. But the self, that's real. Absolutely knowable. Here, always there, directly knowable. In fact, it's knowable all the time. It's the world that's the mystery. Totally flips. Next one.
Na guru no padeshascha na chopardhena me kriya videham gaganam vidhi vishuddhoham swabhavatah. I have neither teacher nor instruction, limiting adjunct nor activity. Know that I am by nature pure, bodiless like the sky.
So in the end, we also have to give up our belief in our attachment to even the form of the group. Are we attached to the path itself, the Vedanta, the scriptures? Do I have any concern, any limiting adjunct of any kind? All by Tatya. Only I is real. Next one.
Vishuddhosya sharirosi nate chittam parat param aham chatma param tattvam iti vaktum na lajjate. You are pure. You are without a body. Your mind is not higher than the highest. You need not be ashamed to say, I am the self, the supreme truth.
So, the import of this verse is some of us have a false modesty in the mind. Oh, I don't want to be arrogant. You know, I couldn't really say I know the self. You know, I'm just a worm. But what this verse is saying is, be truthful. With your mind very quiet and the attentive faculty introverted, when you, as it were, look behind your eyes, do you see that there's nothing there but the space of pure awareness? Got news for you. You're not going to know any more self than that. So then the mind says, okay, I can accept that. Now drop that stupid idea too. Just abide. If you doubt that that's it, return to the scriptures, compare yourself with what the scriptures say about it. The scriptures are a pramana. They are a valid means of knowledge. We have 4 pramanas. First, and most importantly, is what the scriptures say about the nature of the self. What the Upanishads say. Shruti. Then we have the recorded wisdom of the great saints and sages and avatars through the ages. Then we have your own logical reasoning. And in the end, your own direct experience. We should all light up. It can't be that simple, Jim. Uh-huh. Is that all there is? Well, I've had that all along. Uh-huh. I was hoping for bells and whistles. Sorry. What is that which is always there, which is beginningless, endless, like a shoreless ocean, empty of all form, vast, supremely peaceful. It's present, waking, dream, deep sleep space, deep sleep states, even there at Burning Man. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. Don't believe me. Yeah, but is a demon. Just smack him on the butt and tell him to go away. I think I want to stop here a little early tonight. Let's remain with this incredibly important verse. Would you read the English one more time, please?
You are pure, you are without a body. Your mind is not higher than the highest. You need not be ashamed to say, I am the self, the supreme truth.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.